Hello everybody. It was quite moving to watch on television and on social media yesterday the funeral of Paul O'Grady, who of course came from Birkenhead in Merseyside, and I remember him well when I was a young woman, and his alter ego was Lily Savage, the most amazing, outrageous, funny, clever, bright person you could ever meet. And to see the funeral in Kent, where he now lived, with people who turned out, the local community, the rows of dogs, people from Battersea Dogs Home, it really was quite moving. And I took the opportunity last night to watch on YouTube a programme that he made quite some time ago about the working class in the UK. And what sort of really struck me about Paul was, although by that time he was hugely successful and had a new home in Kent and a new life, he still considered himself working class because that's where he came from. And it is so true that where you come from defines you. And he went on to work through the history of very much the north of England and the progress of working people from Port Sunlight and Lever Brothers, where his mother worked, through to the miners. It was all fascinating stuff, and I would recommend that anybody goes and watches it. And of course, we are then saddened to hear today of the death of Barry Humphries, another wonderful person. And I also learnt today of the death of a good friend of mine who lived here in Marrakesh, and it all seems so sad. But we must take from everything that's happened what is good and what is meaningful. And last week was pretty amazing here, because last Tuesday I went out with Ayub because we were short-staffed, it's Ramadan, and we picked up Will, a horse from the Palmery. You'll have seen the shots and the videos of Will, and he was starving. I think the most starved stallion I had come across. It was very upsetting, and we got him back to Georgia, and you think, goodness, how much of this misery can we cope through? And then later that afternoon, who should turn up and walk through our gates but Will Young? I knew Will Young was coming. That's why we had decided to call the stallion Will. And I just want to say what a breath of fresh air it was. Will came with a friend who he'd known for many, many years, and they were both amazing, and they greeted us like long lost friends. They had been here, well, Will had been here a year before, and it was exactly what was needed at that point of time. And what struck me about Will, and he doesn't know I'm making this video, was his complete instant empathy with the animals here. He came down with me to see Will, who was then in a stable, Will the stallion, and he was able to put his hand on Will and understand exactly what Will the stallion was going through, and had such a calming effect. And he was like that with all the animals. And I think because I'd been quite upset, I was very happy to talk about the problems we'd had growing the refuge here. I spoke a little bit about my youth, my life, and so did he. And it was just an amazing visit. And we hope that he one day will come back again. But listen to this. He did message me later in the day, and he said if Will the stallion could ever be brought to the state where he could travel, he would be very happy to take him at his farm in Kent, where he has really good stables and fields for him to run in. Now, that may not be possible. We don't know what's going to happen with Will the stallion, because you can think you're making progress and then we could have a disaster. It could be too much for him. We could lose him. I hope not. But every morning I say to Will the stallion, come on, another day. We've got to get you well, and you perhaps could be our first horse that goes to the UK. What a thing to look forward to. So I just wanted to share that with you because I was so struck by Will Young's genuineness. There was no edge, no side on him. And when some people had realised he'd visited here, that's what everybody said. And his love of animals just shone through. And so soon after Paul O'Grady's death, that seemed to be quite important because there was someone who reminded me so much of Paul O'Grady. Paul was a comedian and Will was a singer, but that was irrelevant. It was their attitude to life, their feel for life, and their feel towards the animals. And I just know in my heart of hearts the work that was done by Paul O'Grady will be carried on in the future by Will Young, and it was such a wonderful thing to witness. I hope you understand, and we'll keep you all up to date with Will the Stallion's progress. Bye for now.